And now, it's time for another episode of the 12-Man Fan Jam Show. A show made by 12s from around the world, for 12s around the world. I'm Mosette, and here's your host and my dad, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Island Church of Seahawk Positivity.
Yes, thank you, Mosette, and welcome to episode 503 of your 12-Man Fan Jam Show as we discuss the Seahawks schedule and upcoming NFL draft. Because upside and potential means something, and I'm feeling a little drafty. Let's meet the posse for this episode. First, my partner in crime in merry old England is not here. Matt will not be joining us. He's a little under the weather, a bit of a fizzy-wig. But that doesn't matter, because our news hound in here, we know our news hound, and you know him as Shadowhawk. We know him as Will. Hi, Will.
Hey, Moses.
How are you this evening?
Well, in solidarity with Matt, I am also letting my allergies kick my ass all over town this evening, so...
Not feeling very well?
Well, you know, this is where all the years of podcast training pay off, you know? You push through.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope our other posse member is feeling better. That is, of course, the man that puts the small in small talk. It's Dustin. Hi, Dustin.
Hey, yeah, I'm feeling great. I got nothing wrong with me. Allergies are not my problem.
Hey! Dustin feels great.
I do.
I don't feel that poorly, actually. But well, let's get to it, guys. We're having our 101st episode. Hopefully, we'll keep doing this until we get it right. But in the meantime, let's see what's in store for this. Let's see what's in store for this episode. Michael Bolton.
Boys, let's get to it.
Ah, yes, let's get to it. This show's broken into 4 quarters and halftime. First quarter is news. Second quarter, we're going to take a look at that new Seattle Seahawks NFL regular season schedule that just came out for the 2017 season. Halftime is the best Seahawk themed play-along game on the internet. 12-Man Fan Jam Show halftime trivia. Mono e mono. Dustin and Will. Dustin trying to retain the championship crown. Can he do it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, then we won't play. Third quarter, an overlook at the draft needs for the Seahawks as we head into the draft next week. And, of course, quarter 4 will be our Seahawk draft challenge, our NFL draft challenge between Will and Moses. We'll see how close either of us get in the NFL draft for the Seahawks picks. Before we start, please like, share, subscribe to Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel. Join our Facebook group, 12-Man Fan Jam Show. We're on Twitter. Check out our special episode, our first 100 episodes, now on Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel, a historical and maybe sometimes hysterical retelling of the story of how this show and all the joy, pain, and tears that 100 episodes of anything can bring you. And before we start with the news, I would like to do a special shout-out to my buddy and friend. I know he's a listener. He listens every week. Luciano Pavarotti. Pavarotti, thank you for listening. You're a great guy, and I love having you around. And if you don't know what that's reference to, then you haven't been watching the news. Apparently, none of you have been watching the news. True.
Oh, yeah. I know. And I don't watch the news. I try to stay away.
Pavarotti's been dead for 10 years, but he's a good friend of mine, I swear. And we'll move on now with the news. Yes, it is our own Shadowhawk Will with the news. It's 12-Man Fan Jam News Report brought to you by United Airlines. We love to drag you around and it shows. Will, what do you got for us?
Well, you know, actually that was a good segue because my first news item has a bit of a political bent and a bit of a Gronkowski bent because it's just good to be Rob Gronkowski because he's one of the best players in the NFL. He just won his second Super Bowl in even more improbable fashion than his first one, which we won't talk about.
Yeah, he wasn't even on the field.
Very true.
That's true.
But, you know, the guy just has fun. And he had fun during Wednesday's visit to the White House, the traditional visit where the Super Bowl winning team gets to take a picture with the president. Of course, Seahawks did that with President Obama a few years ago. Anyway, while this was going on, Press Secretary Sean Spicer was doing his daily briefing, And Rob Gronkowski slipped away and poked his head into the press room. Need some help, Gronk said. And Spicer tried to keep a straight face, failed miserably. And they were all just having fun. So, hey, if you get to go to the White House, why not make the most of it?
It just occurred to me when you're talking about the Super Bowl, going to meet the president and all that. Maybe that's why Atlanta blew the lead. I'm just saying. But we got to go where if we win? Start losing.
I think Spicer missed such a huge opportunity with that. He could. I mean, there's so many things going on that he has to deal with, and so much crap he gets. He should have welcomed the distraction. Gronk would have went out there, and it would have been a fun thing. And then he could have just ended it and walked off with Gronk, and he wouldn't have to answer not a single real question. He missed an opportunity there.
He should have picked up the podium and kind of pushed Gronkowski off stage.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
Motorized podium. All right, you guys.
Just like SNL. That would have been so awesome.
Melissa McCarthy, the best press secretary we've ever had.
Yeah.
Gronk. He also stuck his head a couple other places in the White House, but we won't go into that.
So this is where Monaco sat.
Oh, no, close but no cigar, Dustin.
Oh! Nice. Well done. Which other story, Will?
Well, Moses, this one concerns former Vikings coach and Pete Carroll mentor Bud Grant, who apparently has become famous in recent years for holding garage sales.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's 90 years old.
Well, he was 90 years old 30 years ago, it felt like.
Well, he found a good age and stuck with it, I guess. But
yeah, he was at the playoff game when we were there, 2 seasons ago?
That's right.
And it didn't kill him, which was impressive. But,
yeah.
But anyway,
flip and he's dead.
Anyway, though, this next garage sale, he's had them apparently for years selling hunting and fishing gear along with Vikings memorabilia. But this next one is going to be his last because, quote, I'm running out of stuff. But, however, he will have one new item to, I think, just to show off. But apparently they've made a custom bobblehead of him. It's Grant alongside his hunting dog, Boom, who sadly passed away in October.
No.
And according to Grant, I'm standing there and I've got a duck in my hand that he's just given me that he's retrieved and he's sitting by my side. So.
Aww. Oh, a nice little cute little bobblehead. That's nice.
That's 5 minutes after he does die, some family member is putting that up on eBay.
Yeah, for
absolutely.
For a couple thousand. Yeah, Bud Grant was a great guy, and I was teasing, but it just seems like back in the 70s he was an old man. I mean, seriously, you see the old footage. He looked like he's been 70 his whole life, and I just was shocked last year that he was. I really did. He's still alive, and I didn't mean it as I'm sorry, nothing personal. Just he always had that look that he was 70 years old, and so you just assumed that wow, 90 and just going and selling at garage sales. That's amazing. Good for him.
I bet he sold some pretty cool stuff.
I bet he has.
I know if there was like a ex-NFL head coach anywhere in my area that had garage sales, I'd make it a point to get over there just to see what kind of NFL paraphernalia he's getting rid of, whether I was a fan of his team or not. There's probably really cool stuff at those things.
You want a playbook from 1968?
Yes, actually.
Run right, run left, quarterback sneak, and throw. That's about it.
It's like
chew tobacco, smoke, drink.
Some health guy that's like, choose tobacco only after doing push-ups.
Right. Surgeon General says.
Oh, I've been chewing tobacco every day, boys. Doesn't affect me at all. I'm 90 years old. God, that's amazing. Well, hats off to him. 90 years young and going strong, and we should all be that blessed, shouldn't we?
Sure.
I guess so.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know if I want to hang around here that long, to be honest. But
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, that's another thing. You eat healthy, and you live a long life, but that means you're like 95 years old, and you're crapping your pants going, I could have had a taco, and I would have been happier.
Yeah.
Well, plus you got to spend your last 25 years eating broccoli. So is it really worth the trade-off?
Right. So
I like to have more steak and beer and call it good.
That's our advice. Steak, beer, and tacos, folks. There's your 12-man fan jam show diet.
Yeah.
Let us know your results.
I listened to the 12-Man Fan Jam show and I gained 30 pounds.
In only 3 days.
Thanks,
Nice.
jerks. All right, Will, thank you for the news.
Anytime, Moses.
All right, that'll be the end of the first quarter.
It's the end of the first quarter, bitches.
Coming up on this very special episode of your 12-Man Fan Jam show, lots of show left. Our Seahawk NFL Draft Challenge in the fourth quarter. But coming up next, we discuss that 2017 NFL schedule. We'll be right back after this.
You're listening to the 12-Man Fan Jam show on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel.
Straight up now, shoot me.
Holy shit, it's the second quarter.
Yes, welcome to the second quarter of episode 503 of the 12-Man Fan Jam show. It's time to take a close look at that 2017 Seattle Seahawks regular season schedule. We certainly hope to have a postseason schedule added to it later. But on Thursday of this past week, and as we record barely 24 hours ago, the schedule came out, and then the NFL Network took the next 8 hours talking about every single game. But be that as it may, here is a look of the 2017 regular season schedule for your Seattle Seahawks. And Dustin, as you look over this schedule, what are your thoughts? Good? What are your thoughts bad?
I'm pleasantly surprised, actually. I think there's a lot of things on the schedule that are good for the Hawks. Actually, several pretty interesting good factors. I'm just going to bring up one because I think there's one for everybody here. So I've talked about.
We can all take a turn.
Yeah, just
everybody wins.
There's only one 10
a.m.
a.m. game.
Trophy.
Right. There's only one 10 a.m. game. Just one.
Yay, I like that.
That is amazing, and it's against the London Jaguars, so that's pretty cool because they're not that.
They love me in Jacksonville. They love me in Jacksonville. I don't know if you know that.
I've heard that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's a pretty. I mean, for an NFL team, that's like they're JV. So if you're gonna,
and now they love you.
Yeah, and if you're gonna play a team at 10 a.m., that's your only game. That's about as good as it can get. So
yeah. You want to know why? I'm going to tell you why they love me in Jacksonville, whether you want to know or not. They love me in Jacksonville because when I used to do the predictions and the dinners and all that stuff, I used to write that little article every week.
Yeah.
We were playing Jacksonville a long time ago. I mentioned that Jacksonville's fans came to the games dressed up as empty seats. And it got to Jacksonville, and somebody shared it, and I got all this hate mail. It was awesome.
All you had to do was be like, did you show up to the game?
And I'm like,
no, you didn't.
And then, well, that was the year. You know what that was? That was the year that we played them out in Seattle, and it was a Mora era, I believe. Wasn't it? We beat them 45-0 or something stupid?
Yeah, wasn't that the one where was it Corey Redding or whatever his name was? Defensive end had an interception, and
no, it was that no name number 98. That guy that came out of nowhere. Reed.
The preseason standout, and that was his only real play in his whole career.
Right?
You're talking about Nick Reed?
Yeah,
Nick Reed, yes.
No, I'm talking about there's a defensive end had an interception. I don't think it was Nick Reed.
No, it was Nick Reed. He ran it back for a touchdown.
Oregon?
Yards.
No. Here's the thing. There was a defensive end, I think it was Corey Redding, had an interception, and he was running. He could have scored a touchdown, but instead he turned and found the quarterback and ran at him to hit the quarterback, even though he had the ball.
Well, I don't remember that. I remember Reed getting an interception and running forever.
It was hilarious,
because I was at that game. I was actually at that game, and I was like, that's when I found out about all the hate mail I was getting about, saying Jacksonville had no real fans and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, yeah, I agree with you. Jacksonville, 10 o'clock being the only 10 o'clock game, not a bad thing at all. Will, what do you think about the schedule?
Moses, it's a weird thing not complaining about the schedule, but I just got to go with it. I was a little upset at first seeing the week 6 bye. Yeah. But then, looking towards the end of the season, we have the Thursday night game at Arizona, which somebody better win that one this time. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
But
oh my God.
Then the next.
I'm going to pull for the Seahawks.
Then the next game is the Monday night game against Atlanta. So there's a whole 10, 11 days between games there. So it's kind of like almost we have 2 bye weeks this year.
Agreed. Totally agree. And I used to kind of poo-poo the schedule. I'd say, you know what? It's 8 home, it's 8 road. There's not much you can do. But since then, I've kind of changed my tone because Green Bay in September is different than Green Bay in December.
It is.
And so, we're going to be their home opener. I'm not excited about that. And I would not be surprised that we maybe lose at Green Bay opening day because it's Green Bay at home at their opener. But it's nothing like we had a couple years ago, that incredible, brutal schedule where we started at the Rams and then at Green Bay on prime time, their home opener.
Without Cam Chancellor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year, the Dolphins had to go at Seattle, at New England to start their season.
Yeah, that's rough.
Which it's like, what did they do to the NFL? But I love this schedule. It does make a difference. How many home, how many road, how many back-to-back. There's no back-to-back. The only back-to-back is the Rams and the Giants as far as on the road, and there's a bye week in between there. So I don't even count that. And then we've got back-to-back home. We start 4 of our first 6 on the road, but I'd rather finish at home anyway.
Yep.
And I just, there's not a whole lot to complain. NFL.com basically said, they've avoided a brutal stretch altogether in this year's schedule. Most of their harder games are fairly isolated. So, of course, that can all change. A cross-country trip to face the Giants is followed by winnable games at home against the Texans and the Redskins. Like you said, the Thursday night and Monday night gives you a 10-day rest. It's just it's a great schedule. I just don't have a lot to nitpick here.
I kind of poo-pooed a little bit schedules in general because the teams on the schedule, they matter, but depending on what time of the season you play them, they might have injuries that aren't anticipated. So I don't get too caught up in the opponents too much.
Yeah,
but
right.
the little things like the 10 a.m. start that we have just the one, or there's no back-to-back road games this year for us.
Right.
That's something that I think is beneficial.
First time in franchise history.
Yeah, little things like that I think are very, very important. But again, the opponents, though, I mean, we might play Atlanta on Monday Night Football, but Matt Ryan might have an injury and be out for the season at that point. So it's hard to get too amped about that kind of stuff, I think.
Well, I'll take Atlanta real quick. I'll take Atlanta at home on Monday night to play them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
And there are a lot of teams out there that do have something to complain about. I heard that there were 7 teams that have 3-game road trips this year.
Oh,
something like 3 or 4 teams that start with 2.
That is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, not cool. Although one of them's Arizona, so that one's cool. But
yeah, that's fine.
Well, that's just because their quarterback can get, a discount on the plane trip because of the AARP.
Right.
But, he's old, folks. He's really old. So all in all, it's not a bad schedule. We really don't have much to complain about. I'm excited. Now, as you look over the schedule, it's hard to do this, and we don't like to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you, Dustin.
Yeah.
You look at the schedule.
Yeah.
What's right now? What's a win schedule total look like for you?
Well, right now they're 16-0 until they lose one, I think, right?
That's my boy.
I think that's how that works.
16-0. All right.
Yeah, until they lose one.
Will?
Well, actually, to be honest, they're 0-0 right now. But
Ouch.
looking at the schedule,
Fair,
I think
that's fair.
I think our floor in this schedule is 10 wins.
I think so too.
I think with a couple of surprising road wins and whatnot, I think we could easily win 12 games. Well, not easily, but you know what I mean. It's there for the taking.
At Dallas is probably tough, and at Green Bay is going to be tough.
There's going to be a WTF game in there. There always is, and that's a game that you go, how did we lose that game to that team at that time? And it always happens.
Atlanta at home is probably going to be tough, I'm sure.
Yeah,
there's several.
Bring them on.
I'm sitting at 12. I'm sitting solidly at 12, I think. I'm with you. 10's got to be the bottom on the schedule.
I'm kind of in the 10 to 13 range, in all honesty, for wins.
Well, and you said there were a lot of complaints about the schedule, and I don't know if you guys know this, but the franchises do actually request some stuff, and I happen to have found 3 requests for a top 3. Can you believe it? Our first top 3 of the 5th season. Are you excited?
What?
All right.
Surprised.
So, from our offices located in Chris Collinsworth's empty head, comes the top 3 requests rejected by the 2017 NFL schedule makers. So these are franchises that requested things that did not happen in the schedule. So, for example, number 3, the New England Patriots requested that they just go ahead and play Super Bowl 52 on their schedule, and they said, "No, you can't do that. Not yet, anyway.
Not officially.
Not officially, no."
With air quotes.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Yeah.
At number 2, the Cleveland Browns requested to cancel all games after October because there really isn't a reason to play those games in the first place. Which that makes sense. You don't want anybody to get hurt.
It gets too cold. It gets too cold.
Well,
after
you
that.
don't want anybody to get hurt for no reason. Which,
Yeah.
October, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the number 1 rejected request was that the Los Angeles Rams requested that every road game be in London and every home game be against the Seahawks. And they said, no, you cannot do that because, they kind of have a spell on us. I don't know why. But hopefully that will be
Do
taken
they
care
still, now that Jeff Fisher is gone?
Oh, that's a good question.
And if they don't...
It's weird, though, because
The correct answer is hell no. But
Yeah,
we'll
on
see.
and off they do that. I remember it being an issue in the Holmgren era, too. For some reason, the Rams just, since we've been in this division, give us fits.
It's always been the Rams. It always
Yeah.
has.
Bastards.
Damn Rams, that's right. But thank them for moving to L.A. because that's one less 10 o'clock start we got to worry about.
Yep.
So, case in point, at L.A., October 8th, 1:05. So there you go. Thank you for moving to L.A. And thank you for listening to the second quarter.
Holy shit, it's halftime!
Yes, coming up, so much more show. Will Beast Mode be a Raider? Will Richard Sherman be a Seahawk? Could the offseason be any more annoying? All these answers and more just around the corner, but first, another edition of the 12-Man Fan Jam Show Halftime Trivia coming up next!
Hi, I'm Rosette, and you're listening to the 12-Man Fan Jam Show.
Yes, it's halftime, and welcome to another fun-filled edition of the best play-along Seahawk-themed trivia game show on the internet. It's time for 12-Man Fan Jam Show Halftime Trivia. And here's your host, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Island Church of Seahawk Positivity. Yes, thank you, and welcome to another edition of 12-Man Fan Jam Show Halftime Trivia
of the world.
The trivia game that tests the knowledge of both our posse and our listeners. Our contestants are the posse themselves, Will and Dustin, and here are the rules. So here's how the trivia game works. There'll be 2 rounds of questions. Each contestant answers 1 question each round. If they get it correct, they get 1 point. After 2 rounds of questions, there'll be a final trivia question worth 2 points. If there's a tie after that, then the tie players go on to a special secret overtime question where the winner becomes reigning 12-man Fan Jam Show trivia champion and also gets a prize chosen especially for them. As an added bonus to those listening on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel, the questions and possible answers will be displayed on your screen so you, the viewer and listener, can play along as well. If you do, please let us know how you did on the questions. Remember, there's no Googling, no phone a friend, and please, no wagering. However, there is a lifeline. Before taping this show, my 2 charming Seahawk fan children, Mosette and Little Mo, did take the quiz as well. If the contestants want to know what the kids said, they can ask that but once and only once during the entire game show and only in the first 2 rounds. Now let's get ready to play 12-Man Fan Jam Show Halftime Trivia. All right, gentlemen, you know the rules. I do want to say that it's not Mosette and Little Mo. It is actually Mrs. Moses and Little Mo. Mosette is away at a band contest. Apparently, she's going to be the drummer for Metallica now or something. But anyway,
Cool.
she's not here, so Mrs. Moses took over her part. The part of Mosette will be played by Mrs. Moses in the trivia question. So, since there are just 2 of you, it is no 2 rounds. It is head-to-head odds and evens. And since Dustin won last week, Dustin, are you odd or are you even?
I'll go evens.
That means Will will be odd. Now, gentlemen.
No shock there.
The first.
Nope.
The first questions, through a set of 3. There are 2 questions about Hall of Fame Seahawks, and there's one about our show. And in the second round, we'll talk that. Well, I guess in the second round, 4 through 6, there are questions about recent draft picks of Seattle, and one about our show. So each of you gets 2 trivia questions and one that's not so much about football, but it's about our show that you all will get right. Okay.
Probably not.
No, probably not. All right. So the first question is Will. Will, are you ready for your question?
Hit me.
You're not close. Oh, sorry. All right. Your question is this. It is actually about our show.
Oh, no.
Right out of the block.
You're welcome.
Moses.
You know, this little trivia contest of ours has been held a lot of times. How many different people have won a trivia contest, a 12-man Fan Jam Show halftime trivia? Is it 6, 7, or 8? Dance! How many different people have won a trivia contest? 6, 7, or 8?
Okay. I am going to go. I'm going to go 6.
He's going to go 6. Little Mo went with 7. And Mosette, or Mrs. Mo, also went with 7. And you went with 6. I'm sorry.
Huh.
They were right. It's actually 7. Matt, Mark, Will, and Dustin have all won. But Andy has won. Mark Ty Turner's won 1. And Mike Pascal's won 1. So, 7.
Oh, I forgot about Mike Pascal.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was recent. I would
have won 6 too. I was hard pressed to think. I was trying to go over how many people have done this in my head.
Oh yeah, Mike Pascal. That was one of the ones when I wasn't in. So well.
There you go. There you go.
Should've guessed.
Dustin, yours is a football question. It's about Walter Jones. You like Walter?
Oh, I know
Jones?
that guy.
Yeah, he's pretty good. This is pretty
big.
easy, actually. It's pretty much a softball question, but I'll go ahead and throw it out there for you anyway to knock it out of the park. What
You're
college?
setting me up for failure, man.
What college did Walter Jones attend? Florida State, Florida, or
good
Miami of
grief.
Florida?
What was that?
What college did Walter Jones attend? Florida, Florida State, or Miami of Florida?
Oh, Florida State.
Yeah. See, this is easy stuff. Mrs. Mo got Florida State, and Little Mo said Miami of Florida because I think he just likes Miami of Florida. But yeah, you're right. Florida State. That's a lot of softball. But Dustin's up on the board. You never know what you're going to get.
Like Forrest Gump always says.
Yeah, life is like a box of chocolate. Well, the good news is your
Stupid
next 2
is and
questions.
stupid does.
Your next 2 questions are football related. This one's about Kenny Easley. You're familiar with Kenny Easley, I'm sure. It answers UCLA, so we're not going there. But Kenny Easley was picked in the first round of the 1981 NFL Draft. What pick was he overall? Was he the 2nd overall pick, the 3rd overall pick, or the 4th overall pick? Kenny
He's
Easley,
a high pick. Wow.
2nd, 3rd, or 4th overall pick. Which one?
3rd.
You say 3rd?
Yep.
That's what Little Mo said. Mrs. Mo said 4. You said 3. He was
man.
the 4th overall pick.
Really? I could have sworn he was the 3rd. Oh well.
I thought you had it. You said it with confidence. I believe you.
He did.
No, Kennedy was the 3rd.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, I hope
Kennedy
that's
was
not an upcoming question.
It's
so.
not.
Oh man.
And then 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6, we go into draft picks from last year. So, and Dustin, your question from last year's draft picks have to do with Jerron Reed.
Okay.
Jerron Reed, as you know, played for Alabama. But before he played for Alabama, he transferred from a junior college. What state was the junior college in that Jerron Reed played in before Alabama? Was it the state? Was it in the state of Alabama, the state of Georgia, or the state of Mississippi? What? Before transferring to Alabama, Jerron Reed played at what junior college in what state? In Alabama, Georgia, or Mississippi? Where was his junior college at?
I don't know. Mississippi. I have no clue.
I don't know.
idea.
Mississippi.
It sounds great.
That said Mississippi.
It's just fun to say.
Yeah, it's fun to spell too.
Spell it.
M-I-S-S-I-S-S-I-P-P-I. Lil Mo said Alabama. You said Mississippi. Oh,
sweet.
East Mississippi Community College. Look at this. It's 2-0. Will, you got to get a point here, buddy.
Yeah, I don't think I have enough over-the-counter drugs in my system right now.
That's okay. Here's what's going to happen, Will. I'm going to probably, if I get another one right,
Oh, here we go.
we're going to go into Final Jeopardy. and Moses is going to make the last question worth more points than what I have, and then you're going to end up winning. That's how that works, right?
That would never happen, right?
Yeah, and if you're listening close, then Will would come from behind. So
again,
I don't want Will to come from behind. All right.
Least I can do right now is talk dirty for a minute. So,
Will, yours is about Reese Odiambo, which I love to say like that. I would never, if I announce starting at guard, it's Reese Odiambo. Okay, Odiambo.
That's a jovial name.
He received an award from his strength coach at Boise State in 2011. What was the name of that award? Was it the Lunch Pail Award, the Ultimate Goon Award, or the Workout Beast Award? What award did Odiambo get from his strength coach at Boise State 2011? Lunch Pail Award, Ultimate Goon Award, or Workout Beast Award?
Okay, so let me get this straight. Dustin gets what college did Walter Jones go to, and I have to figure out an obscure locker room award in Boise State?
Pretty much.
Cool. Yeah. In that case, I'm going to go with Ultimate Goon Award just because that's the most fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It does sound fun, doesn't it? Little Mo said the Workout Beast Award. Mrs. Moses said, Clayton Mosette said the Ultimate Goon Award. You said the Ultimate Goon Award. Yeah!
Yay!
Ultimate Goon Award. And Will is on the board, so we don't have to worry about that embarrassing. I make it worth 3 points. However, this also means that, Dustin, you now have a question about our show.
Oh, yeah, I was there. I'm in it.
Yeah. Hey, it's about Season 4. Now, Season 4 has had more blooper reels made than any other season.
Okay, that's just the stuff we can share with people.
Yeah. How many blooper reels are there on the YouTube channel, on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel from Season 4 of the 12-Man Fan Jam Show? Are there 4, 5, or 6? How many blooper reels on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel just from Season 4? 4, 5, or 6?
Well, since it's Season 4, I'm going to go with number 4.
Season 4, he's going with Little Mo said 4. Mosette said, or Mrs. Mo, I guess she should have said 6. You said 4. No, it's 6.
Wow.
So it's 2-1.
We're really funny people.
We are. And her reaction was,
yeah, but looks aren't everything.
I swear to you, Mrs. Moses looked at me and goes, well, you guys are terrible, so there's got to be at least 6 of those. I'm like, yeah, thanks a lot.
She knows us well.
Can I point this out? I don't think this has ever happened, but as playing Mosette, Mrs. Moses was 6 for 6 on the questions. I don't know what that means, but there you go. All right.
It means if she steps in again, I'm doing whatever she says.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if we ever do this as teams, I'm requesting her on my team.
You got it. I asked her to say something, but she was too embarrassed.
That's a good pull also.
Oh, guys, you know what time it is? It's time for the final question. All right.
I forgot about that.
I love that. Final question. It is a number high or low. Will will go first and Dustin will go second. The one closest to the number without going over gets the 2 points and the championship. If you're both over, whoever's closest to the number gets the 2 points. And Will and Dustin, well, first, here is your question. It has to do with the 1976 draft of the Seattle Seahawks. And your question is this. How many draft picks did the Seahawks have in the 1976 NFL draft? How many draft picks altogether did the Seahawks have in the 1976 NFL draft? Will?
This is just the regular draft, not the expansion draft, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe.
They had a buttload of draft picks back then. I'm going to go 17.
17! Dustin!
17? How many rounds were there?
Can't. No, can't answer. Sorry. Come back tomorrow. Maybe we fix.
I don't know. He said 17, and I don't know how many. Okay, I'll say 18. It seems terrible. Like I probably should have said 16. But
I would have been if it was 16, I would be awesome.
What?
But it's not. The total number of draft picks the Seahawks had in 1976 was 25.
What?
Yes!
Wow.
And that means Dustin keeps his title. Congratulations, Dustin. Well done, sir.
Dude, that is so crazy. How many rounds were there for real?
I think there were like 17 or something ridiculous. It was
With less teams than we have now?
Oh yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, they went 17 rounds, man.
You know, even in the 80s, it was 12 rounds until about 93, 94
Yes.
when they started cutting it down.
What? How was the roster bigger?
Nope.
No.
Wow. I was too young to remember all that, so I had no idea. That's crazy. I had no clue about that.
And back then, they made their draft picks run uphill both ways in the snow just to go to the podium. And they didn't get to shake hands. They got smacked upside the face, and they liked it.
And they couldn't drink water. That one's actually true.
That is true. Yeah.
That's true. They just had flames thrown at them. You're thirsty? Open your mouth. Here comes some flames. All right.
Remember actually Largen talking about that whole thing, about no water.
Getting flames? No, okay. Hey, guess what? It's been another crowd-pleasing, heart-stopping, award-winning edition of your 12-Man Fan Jam Show Halftime Trivia. We'll be right back with the second half of this show after this quick station identification. Skilo, take us out.
With a bat and a 6'4" Impala.
Welcome to merry old England, packed full of castles, tea, crumpets, and Yorkshire pudding. I can't think of a single place in the world I would rather be right now.
Are you kidding me? Touchdown, Seahawks!
Holy shit, it's the third quarter.
Hey, welcome to the third quarter of your 12-Man Fan Jam Show. Hey, are you draft ready? Well, we are. But just to be sure, here's another top three! Pow! Right out of the chute. I know you guys can't wait. From our offices located in Mel Kiper's huge ego comes the top 3 ways you can tell you are ready for the NFL draft. So if you're sitting there and you're like, Thursday, draft's coming up, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Here's how you know. This is how, we inform and entertain. How you know you're ready. For example, number 3, if you swipe on Tinder based on upside and potential, you're ready for the draft. I said upside and potential. Thank you. Hold your applause. Number 2.
Okay.
If you dump your granny from the family because of a disappointing 40 time, you're ready for the draft.
Hey, she had all off season to practice. I mean, come on.
I know.
It's not like she's working. She needs to work on that 40.
Oh, my legs hurt. Oh, I've got osteoporosis. Run, Granny! And the number 1 way you can tell you're ready for the NFL draft is if you claim to be rebuilding your family by trading your Aunt Edna for a couple of conditional new family members from the neighbors down the street. So, hopefully they're having twins. We'll move on. Hold your applause. All right, this quarter, we're going to take a look at the real NFL draft and what we feel might be the needs of the Seahawks as they enter the draft. And what the draft is overall. Will, what are your thoughts on this draft overall and how it's going to help the Seahawks?
Well, I hope you like defense because there are a lot of good cornerbacks, a lot of good safeties, a lot of good linebackers, although we've signed 4 this offseason, so I don't know if that'll necessarily be a priority. Pretty good number of defensive linemen, although there's kind of a drop-off after the first tier. So,
hey, Will.
Yeah?
I like defense.
Well, that's good.
I like it a lot.
A lot.
I like it a lot. I like defense. Is this maybe why we're hearing what we're hearing about Sherman? Even though, okay, we're not going to get into the whole he said, she said, he's going, he's not going, blah, blah, blah. But maybe that's why we're hearing what we're hearing about Sherman a little bit, maybe? Because of the potential draft?
Well, it works both ways, though, because, there's a lot of great defensive back talent in the draft this year, but that means all the other 31 teams can get their pick of the litter practically. So, there's a lot of good young quarterbacks about to flood the market, which would drive Sherman's price down.
Yes, it would.
Although 710's reported that he and Chancellor and Thomas are going to report for voluntary workouts next Monday. So, sounds like this story is going to die a long-awaited death.
Hey, kids, they're coming back. All right. The kids dig it. I dig it. That's awesome.
But getting back to the draft, though,
yes.
I think Seattle's going to go defense early and often. I think they've been trying to move towards a 4-2-5 defensive concept with a big nickel or Buffalo nickel, like what the Cardinals have done with Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to want to go for defensive line. I think if the right offensive lineman drops to them, they would consider it. But I think based on Carroll and Schneider's comments earlier this offseason, they wanted to get older on the line. So I think they're going to look to maybe another offensive line free agent at some point down the road. But it's kind of interesting because a lot of people have been talking about how good this draft class is. And a week or two ago, John Schneider gave an interview saying that, while he likes certain sections of the draft, quote, "It seems like there's some gaps in there, which for us, not having a fourth or fifth may work out in our favor." So if I had to guess, I think we're really going to target some players and we're going to move all over the board to get the players we want at the spots we want. So look for a lot of trades.
The plot doth thicken, does it not?
It doth.
And now I can't stop doing this because the plot does thicken. I've heard a lot of good things about this draft, Dustin. Offensive linemen. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I like it when we have good ones. I don't think the draft is much of an option for that at this point. It sounds like it's really not a very good draft for offensive linemen from everything I've read and heard. I think they tried to address it as best they could in free agency. And I don't know that they maybe later they'll try and take a defense or like a lacrosse player and turn him into an offensive lineman. I don't know. But
it's what we do.
Yeah, I don't know that the offensive line is really going to be a point of emphasis for them in the draft. But what Will just said about the 4-2-5, that was the first time I heard that, to be honest with you. And that just, then my mind just was like, wow, that's completely true, because they have KJ and Bobby, and they haven't really made any effort to replace Bruce Irvin whatsoever.
They really haven't.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense for them to do that.
It does.
Which means they're going to look, their secondary is a little short in the first place right now. They need some work there. So that wouldn't surprise me at all if they worked on the secondary and the defensive line a little bit. And they do need some depth at linebackers. So
it makes a ton of sense. And you think they brought in Brandon Browner last year? You know, that was maybe the thought. Hey, can this work for a year and then we get something else?
Yeah,
and also signed Bradley McDougall this year. But
right,
I get the feeling that was more of he's still available. Let's bring him in.
And say he's going to play a lot, and he's coming here, and he start for the Bucks.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're a starter going to a team that has the best safeties in football. You know, you got to know more. There's more up there. Yeah, there's something up here where he's probably thinking, you know, that while he's talked to them, it's like, you know, I'm going to play a lot. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's an awesome thought, man.
That's a great thought. I love it. And I've thought about that. I've talked to that with Little Mo, because they like to do the Leo, the tweener between the lineman and the linebacker. I said I'd love to see them do that with a linebacker and a safety, kind of do a tweener there. And that would be awesome. Great things. Offensively, what are we looking at, Will, in this draft? Is there some positions that are better than others, or?
Well, this is probably the best tight end class in years, to the point where I think Carroll and Schneider are going to think long and hard about addressing the position, even though we've got 3 tight ends on the roster, but only 1 who signed past this year.
Right.
So, and it's a question of, okay, if Graham and Luke Wilson both leave next year, and next year's draft class isn't as good, well, you're kind of stuck. So maybe it's a situation where, okay, you take a really talented, really athletic tight end now at some point in the draft, and then hopefully if you do lose Graham or Wilson or both, you got a guy ready to step right in for him.
I agree with you. Rainback's pretty good too, aren't they? Overall?
What was that? Sorry.
The Rainbacks are pretty decent too in this class, aren't they? I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah, they've got some decent running backs out there. there are a couple that are going to go in the first round this year. Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey. I hope Seattle doesn't take a running back in the first round, but I would hate the pick, but love the player if by some miracle either one of those guys dropped to us.
I agree.
But I could. It's definitely possible to see Seattle taking a running back at some point, maybe on day 3 or undrafted free agent. But I think they're going to bring in more competition for that room after what happened last year.
Quite possible.
Yeah, and if Graham and Wilson end up leaving, you're not going to want to have Vanette be your main guy. So they're going to have to do something about that.
Right.
Either keep probably Graham and draft somebody, or who knows what will happen with that. But
it depends on what Graham wants. Now, Graham has changed all of our minds. We all hated Jimmy Graham, and they became on the team. We all love Jimmy Graham, and he's probably my favorite Seahawk right now. But let's not kid ourselves. This is the same guy that tried to get himself franchise tagged at a wide receiver down in New Orleans because he felt he played more wide receiver than tight end. And, oh, by the way, it was more money. So I don't know. I'm not saying that that's him now, but that was him then. When this comes up, if he really loves playing here, we'll find out. If he not, I want him to take a hometown discount. But if he's asking for $10-12 million to play tight end, I think that might be a little pricey for us. But
man, I've said it since he came here that I don't think for us he should be a tight end. Mm-hmm. I think he should be a receiver for us because blocking, he's better at blocking than he was when he got here. Mm-hmm. Not really a strong suit. We don't have a lot of size at the wide receiver position, and we use him a lot as a wide receiver too. When he runs routes, he goes out there, he does his thing. But I would rather have him play wide receiver for us than tight end, and have somebody that's a little bit more versatile and solid in all aspects of what's required of a tight end actually playing tight end.
I'm okay with his blocking, but
he got better. Better, but I'd rather have somebody that's more well-rounded as a tight end and throw him out there and just let him thrive in what he thrives at. That's what he's best at, is going out there and catching passes. So,
it is.
And we don't have a lot of size there. So,
no.
I'd rather see that.
Well, I'm sure you'll see some of that this year, I hope. I hope we definitely see that. I think that's an intriguing thing, tight ends, because, like you said, we only have one sign pass next year. Are they going to get a tight end? We'll have to see. I know Matt would be thrilled to hear that tight ends are back in fashion. But that one's for Matt, who's sick right now.
I'm sorry to not let it go, but think of him as like a Mike Williams role, right? Williams was a big old dude.
Yeah.
We've been trying to find a big wide receiver. Why not throw Jimmy Graham in that role?
Yeah.
And then have another tight end come in and actually play tight end and let Jimmy Graham try to fill like a Mike Williams role type thing.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I can see that.
It makes a lot of sense in my head.
Yeah, I get it. Well, I like to see them go into what they used to at USC. What they used to at USC was they had 3 tight ends in the regular lineup, and then they'd flank 2 out. They'd flank 1 out. They'd keep them all in. You didn't know what the tight ends were going to do in each formation, and they basically played 3 tight ends most of the time. I'd like to see that here more.
Did they do that in the red zone, out of curiosity?
They did it everywhere.
Okay.
Nice.
Part of our red zone problems last year was the only guy open was Curse, and he couldn't catch it. So.
Right.
Yeah, he had a bad year. He had a rough year.
Yeah, he had a rough year, but it happens. All right. So Jose Rodriguez, real quick on a 12-Man Fan Jam show Facebook page, and he sent me a message, and he said, "Hey, I know you're doing a show this week. If you guys talk about who we should draft, and we're going to do that next quarter. In the first round, can you mention I'd like to see us draft Kevin King or Marlon Humphrey to play opposite Sherm, since Shed's going to be out the first couple of weeks, and in one of the later rounds, take offensive tackle Dan Skipper out of Arkansas. Thanks, and have a good show." What are your thoughts on that, Will? What do we know about these guys he's talking about on the other side of Sherm? That would be Kevin King and Marlon Humphrey.
Well, I tell you, with those 2 guys, there's a very good chance that both will be off the board at 26. King has just shot up draft board since the combine. Mm-hmm. My personal opinion is that he doesn't get past Oakland at number 24. If he is on the board, he's got to be a very serious consideration, though, because he just ticks off every box that Seattle wants in their cornerbacks.
Nice.
Or what if Seattle bucks the trend and trades Sherman and moves up in the draft? They could pull a cornerback then.
It's possible. If they move up more than a spot or two, it's pretty much going to take a trade of Sherman, but it could happen. I don't see it, though.
It's funny you brought up the Raiders because, of course, the big wild card is the beast mode situation, which if I'm the Raiders and it's not resolved by draft day, I'm drafting a running back. I have to have somebody. I can't wait around for this situation to be resolved, and I don't blame them for wanting it resolved before draft day, because that could change. You're probably right, unless the beast mode's not in a Raiders uniform. Then you got to think running back. Maybe not the first round, but you got to think running back, don't you?
Definitely one early.
Yeah. So that's another thing. Very intriguing to see how this goes. And there are going to be a lot of trades. I think there were a lot of trades. I don't like the 3-day draft because it just prolongs for me having to stay up till midnight every night to watch it. But one thing it does do is it gives those teams time to regroup and make deals. And there have been a lot of deals the last couple drafts, and I think that's because of the breaks in between the rounds, which is nice. All right. Well, let's end the third quarter there.
It's the end of the third quarter, bitches.
Coming up, it's time for our NFL Draft Challenge between Shadowhawk and Moses. You're listening to 12-Man Fan Jam Show. It's getting drafty in here. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, everybody. This is Statsman Mark. And when I'm not listening to Charo's greatest hits on 8-track tape, I'm listening to the 12-Man Fan Jam Show.
Holy shit, it's the fourth quarter.
Ah, yes. It is time for the fourth and final quarter. Now, this episode of the 12-Man Fan Jam Show did that just for Matt from merry old England. Hey, this quarter is time to hold our 2017 NFL Draft Challenge. Here's how this works. Our resident draft expert, Shadowhawk Will, compiles a mock draft for the Seahawks. And then I put together my mock draft. And I think we have two definitely different views on this. But here's how it works. We'll put our list out and we'll put it on the Facebook page before the draft. If our player is drafted by the Seahawks anywhere, we get 3 points. If the player on our list is drafted in the Seahawks in the round we say they're going to get drafted, we get 5. If a player on our list is signed as an undrafted free agent within the first week after the draft by the Seahawks, we get 2 points for that. And Will, I'll give you a little clue. Will has a trade in his. If his trade works, I'm going to give him 5 points for that because that's pretty crazy. He would know that the exact trade would go through. So, we're going to do this pick by pick, round by round, Will, and then me. And I think I don't know, Will, I know I have a definite method to my madness, and I think you do too. So, here we go. Round 1, pick 26. Will, who did you pick?
Well, I think a trade down here is a real possibility. A team like Jacksonville maybe wanting to get back up into the first round and get a quarterback. But if this pick is on the board, I think they stay put and take Obi Melifonwu, safety / cornerback out of UConn.
God bless you.
Thank you. The guy is 6 foot 2 inches, 225 pounds, ran a 4.40 at the combine, a 41-inch vertical jump. I mean, jaws were just dropping. You get a guy, you can put him into that Buffalo nickel role.
There it is.
How many times have we been gashed by tight ends, Tyler Eiferts of the league, over and over?
Mm-hmm.
The force is strong with that pick.
You got a guy who can match up with these tight ends, bigger slot receivers, has the potential to possibly move outside. If Cam Chancellor leaves next year, he could become a full-time strong safety. It's just you could do a lot with this guy.
We talked about that guy on the last show or maybe the show before. And that was my one take was, if nothing else, I hope we draft a dude named Obi.
That's right. Obi-Wan. Very nice. Well, Will, that's a great pick, and that's a lot of research and well thought. I don't have so much thought into my picks. I just like guys that sound cool. So, a few years ago, we had a receiver named Taco Wallace.
Taco Wallace
was awesome, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to go with another taco because you can't have too many tacos on your team. So my first round pick goes with Taco Charlton, defensive end of Michigan, because I want tacos on my team, baby. So
definite possibility.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at there. Taco Charlton, defensive end, Michigan, round 1, because I just like tacos. So I don't know his 40 time. I hardly know his name. I just like tacos. So
you know his name. It's Taco.
Yeah. Round 2. You want to explain what you did here?
Okay, here's where my trade comes in. I have Seattle trading their second round pick and their first pick in the third round, so picks 58 and 90, to the New Orleans Saints for pick number 42. For the second year, we're going to pick a first round talent that drops into the second round. Malik McDowell, defensive tackle, defensive end, Michigan State. Just ridiculous amount of talent potential, still raw, needs to be coached up. Biggest problem with McDowell is, he was hurt a bit last year, but he tended to give up on some plays. Didn't have the best attitude. Interviewed horribly at the combine, which is why I think he's going to drop. I wouldn't have thought Seattle was even going to think about this guy, but they brought him in for a visit. If they liked what they heard in this visit, and Pete Carroll thinks he can work with this guy, thinks the rest of the locker room will keep him under control, McDowell gives them just an immensely talented guy who can play end and tackle. And, Carroll's always said, we're always looking for pass rush. And if he drops into the second round far enough, I could see us being aggressive and moving up for him.
How big is that guy? How big is he?
He's 6'6", 290 pounds. A lot of speed, moves really well.
Nice.
That's right. I heard about him. I heard about how well he shouldn't be able to, because he's a prototypical left tackle size, right? He's not a guy that should be able to get under their pads as a defensive tackle position, but he works off his speed. He's a really quick dude, and he's able to get past the guards and center because of his quick first step. So yeah, that'd be pretty crazy. That'd be a pretty cool thing to have.
Yeah, that would be. My second pick is, again, based on how it sounds. I went offense this time. I went with a guy who is a receiver out of Eastern Washington named Cooper Kupp. I just like the name Cooper Kupp, and I think if he is signed with the Seahawks, 2 girls need to go up and get their picture taken with him, so it can be 2 girls and Cooper Kupp.
Boo.
And there it is.
Boo.
Yeah, I went there. 2 girls and Cooper Kupp. Round 3. Will, you traded your pick, so you don't have a pick. I have a round 3 pick, and I know what you're thinking. Obviously there's a theme here. I'm going with names. I'm going with goofy names. I'm going with funny names. Do I pick the most obvious, goofy, funniest name in the draft?
Yes,
I do. Jake Butt, tight end, Michigan. That is our poster child for the draft. How can you not pick a tight end named Butt? It's genius. It's genius. And by the way, he is a very good ball player. He's also a very good ball player.
Winning formula.
He would have been high second, maybe even low first rounder if he hadn't torn his ACL in the Citrus Bowl this year.
Right. So he's a very good. Not only that, he's just a very good ball player. You have a tight end for your next pick. Who do you have?
I do. This one is George Kittle, tight end out of Iowa. Good blocker and good pass catcher. Only dropped 1 ball out of the 48 receptions in his collegiate career. So he wasn't utilized that much, but at the combine he ran a 4.52 40, which is pretty good for a tight end.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's more of an all-around tight end rather than just a receiving threat. But you can line him up use him as an inline blocker, or you can use him in the backfield as an H-back. So you get a guy who can block and catch for you.
They run the ball a lot in Iowa, don't they, or do they?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, Big Ten, they're known for running. Nice pick. I went again with Bloodline Seer, a guy I really liked when he played, and I even like now when he's on the sidelines. I'm picking Nico Siragusa.
Yes.
Because the Goose, offensive guard, San Diego State. Listen, if we can get the Goose to do our games, I'd be a happy guy. That guy's pretty amazing. He's a great guy. I live close to Indianapolis, and still people love the Goose over here. I see Siragusa jerseys all over the place, even now when he was here. So, yeah, he's a great guy. So, Nico Siragusa, I'm going with, as a son, I believe. I'm not sure. So, yeah. I think so. So, Nico Siragusa is my pick for the third round, second pick. Who is your third round pick?
Well, just as an aside, I think if they do go offensive line in this draft, it's going to be in the third round, and it's going to be either Siragusa or Isaac Asiata, another guard out of Utah.
And another great name.
Yeah, those are two guys to keep your eye on in the third
the
round.
running back's brother or something?
Honestly, I am not sure, but it could be. But I actually went in a different direction. I went back to the secondary. I went Shaquille Griffin, cornerback / safety out of Central Florida. Another guy who can play inside or outside. He's got the size and the speed. He ran a 4.38 40 at the combine. Hard hitter, very physical run defender. Can get a little too aggressive at times, but you coach that out of him, and you get a guy who's going to fly around and hit people, and you can't have too many of those.
That's very true.
Little known fact, that's Shaquille O'Neal's son. Little known fact.
No.
Okay. Like I said, I did research this part of the show, so.
You're fired. No. Well, I went with I went on the defensive side again. Just this name is awesome for a defensive player if you get one like this. If you get a guy named Basham, I mean defensive end, Terrell Basham out of Ohio. Just again, you have a guy named Basham. How can you not like that? Basham. So that was my pick for the final third round. In the sixth round, who do you have?
Can I just say, I do like, that one's pretty good. My all-time favorite defender's name, though, is Whitney Merciless.
Oh, isn't it the best?
Yeah,
Merciless.
That's a good name. That's a great name.
Merciless.
So, sixth round, I'm actually going pass catcher again. D'Angelo Yancey, wide receiver out of Purdue. Poor guy spent 4 years at a college, won only 9 games, but he's a big receiver, 6 feet, 6'1", just under 200 pounds. Can high point the ball, uses the sidelines, has really good top end speed. Still developing, but he's a guy that could sneak onto the back end of the roster depending on how some of our other receivers are doing.
Well done. My pick is based on where I live. You try to bash any kind of stereotype about living in Indiana, and you know two things about Indiana. You know basketball and you know corn. And I try to say, well, I'm not a farmer, and I'm not. I've never farmed in my life. I've never run a tractor. But that being said, if I look out my backyard, I gaze upon a cornfield. So, that being said, my pick in the sixth round is a guy named Corn Elder, defensive back from Miami of Florida.
Yep.
I just, have a guy named Corn. I think it'd be kind of funny. And then if you had a fan club, they better be children of the Corn Elder. That's all I'm saying. It has to be. Children of the Corn Elder. It's a movie, folks. Look it up. Seventh round pick?
Well, Moses, we didn't have any of the same players, but I do like the fact that we both chose someone out of Eastern Washington University.
I do too.
Going with Samson Ebukam, defensive end / outside linebacker. They've been going, like we mentioned earlier, they've been going away from the whole Bruce Irvin linebacker role, but this guy's got an explosive first step, great closing speed, ran quicker than 4.5 40 at his pro day, forces fumbles, tackles for loss. I mean, this is a guy who's going to need a couple of years of development, but you stash him on the roster and you work with him, and you could have something pretty special in a year's time. I would really pull for this kid if we drafted him.
Awesome. Mine is finishing up. It's a personal pick again. I've been known to do awful imitations on this show. I've done my Bill Shatner is awful.
I've never heard a bad imitation.
My French accent is horrendous. My English accent is even worse. But one thing that I haven't done for a couple seasons, I don't think since season 1 or 2, is done an imitation of a guy who was actually the name of my 7th round pick, and that is Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson.
Nice.
From Cincinnati, he's a safety. But wouldn't it be nice to have Mike Tyson on your team? Let's go defense. We're going to go hurt somebody. And that's why I don't ever do my Mike
My
Tyson.
defense is impregnable.
Yeah. Just be careful. He could fade away into Bolivian.
And if it doesn't work out, he'll be in all the Hangover sequels. So
I'm looking for my pardon. Where's my pardon? I've been looking for my pardon.
Well, I tell you, Moses, for somebody who put together a draft just based on names, you got some good players in there.
Well, thank you. I tell you what, for a guy that puts together a draft based on talent, you got a pretty daggone good looking draft too. I think they'd be fools not to look at our drafts and do something with it.
Well, it's a funny thing. I told you this earlier, but last year I didn't pick any of the Seahawks draft picks. But in my mock draft last year, three of the guys I picked last year ended up going to Denver. So maybe maybe John Elway is a fan of this.
We'd like to say hi to Denver right now if you're listening.
We love you, John Elway.
Oh, it's funny. So we'll see what happens. We'll give it a week after the draft to see if any of these guys go as undrafted free agents, and I'm interested to see how they go in the round. You know, like you said, do they go in the round that we thought they'd go in? Now, that's even more intriguing. But we'll have to see that. But now, I guess to see that, we have to stop here. So I guess it's time to bring another wonderful and amazing 12-man Fan Jam show to a sad close. We're so glad you decided to waste some time with us, and we certainly hope you laughed a little and maybe you learned a little something along the way. What did we learn on this show? Well, we learned that Gronk is nosy, and we learned that Bud Grant is still alive.
He is.
And we learned that Jake Butt is the best name for a tight end ever. So,
Sir Mix-a-Lot loves that guy.
Yeah.
He likes Jake Butt and he cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny. All right. Oh man, see that's even worse than my Mike Tyson. All right. So on behalf of,
No,
I
not
didn't
really.
think it was bad. I didn't think it was bad.
well, thank you. On behalf of our partner in crime, who's not here, Matt, our Newshound Shadowhawk Will, Statsman Mark wherever he may be, Dustin as the leader, Roger Goodell, Mosette, Little Mo, Mario Lopez, John Elway, Sheila McRae, Buddy Hackett, Art Carty. Good night, everybody, and go Hawks!
Go Hawks. And go Bayside for Mario Lopez.
Like big butt and I cannot die.
That was actually pretty funny, man.